All right, so I want to put the first floor plywood subfloor in, and then I'm going to put the bond in of the first floor, and then I can put my structural systems in. So that would be the topic of the tutorial now. So we'll start, this is the residence, and I'm going to really, let's see, I want to go to the first floor. Think that'll work. Do I have an underlay? It looks like I have an underlay. So why I have an underlay, I don't know, but let's say none for the underlay. So I just have my floor there. I still have some other, what, no, I think we're good now. Saw this stuff in the 3D. So what I want to do now is put in the plywood subfloor, and the plywood subfloor is going to go to the plywood sheathing. So that would be, this would be the line of the plywood sheathing. So architecture floor, and then I'm going to select 3/4 inch plywood, which I guess you can't see because I'm using a different screen for my properties in the project browser. I think that'll be all right. Now I could try picking lines, see if that helps any. I'm hitting the tab key, and if I hit the, so I'm going to go all the way around here. I might be able, I've never really had a lot of success with the tab, which would select all of these lines. So anyway, that's all right. I'm trying to just go around, tab, and then clean it up. But what I'm trying to do here is pick the face of the plywood sheathing on the outside, because that's where the plywood subfloor would extend to. And I might have to clean it up a little bit. Yeah, we'll definitely have to clean it up at the stairway. But the bond would still, I believe, go around the perimeter. Now, what I have done is I've made sure that my walls are in the correct location dimensionally. So I don't have to lock my plywood to these walls. Well, maybe I should do that anyway, but I didn't. And that way, if I had locked my plywood to this wall, then when, in the event that I move the wall, I was trying to really, this is really the end of this wall, not this. So it was confusing Revit a little bit, but I should be okay now when I get away from the end of that wall. And actually select on the wall itself and not the end point. Here's an interesting connection. What do we got here? What the heck is this? That's the steel beam below. Okay, so I guess we're okay so far. Now see, this would be the end of this wall, so I'm trying to connect there. Oh, picked it. Of course it did when I was trying to use it as a demonstration. Now these double lines represent the span direction. Plywood really doesn't have a span direction that I know of, so we're not too concerned about that. But if I were, when I get to my structural system, you'll see the importance of that. Anyway, I'm good with that. I'm going to select one of these lines and come down to the eyeglasses and say isolate category. So all I can see now is my, or are my magenta lines. So it makes it easier to clean up the connections here. That one looks good. Plus, if there is an error when I say okay, it will be easier to see where that error is. I think we're in pretty good shape here. I'm going to say okay. And see, here's the error. Okay, so somewhere there's a problem, and look, right, I could see right here because it was isolated, and sure enough, a pretty big oversight on my part, huh? Look at that. Okay. Now zoom back out. If there is another error in terms of the lines being connected or whatever, it will tell me. But it went away, so that means everything's good. So now I'm going to tell Revit to reset the temporary hide, and I want to go look at a section because I didn't pay attention to the height of the wall. So let's see. That was the structural plan too. Okay, so any of these sections will go through the house. So let's take a look at one of them just to see where I put the plywood subfloor. And you can see it's not in the right spot. It's my properties say first floor -8 inches, and I'll change that to first floor 0. And there is I say my first floor is my first floor subfloor. So now we're in pretty good shape here. Let's save that drawing. And now the next thing I want to do is go to a 3-dimensional view and only have the plywood and a 2x12 floor joist visible. So let's say we want to go to a 3D view. Wow. All right, I was demonstrating to the client how the garage would work. Garage slab, raised platform, which I don't see a lot of that in New York, but in Michigan here, we do have the raised platform, and it just works as a bumper to stop the car from going and crashing into the house. But I told them the risers, the railings weren't necessary, but just to show them how we get into the first floor based on the elevations that I was proposing. All right, so this is good enough to use for me, so I'm going to just make it larger so that I can see the entire house. And then this is really what's going to display more of the house. I do want to see the entire first floor area, so stretching that out a little bit more that way. Now my crop region needs to be enlarged so that I can see everything there. All right, so I'm holding down the shift key and pushing down on the mouse wheel and then moving the mouse. And it looks to me like I'm going to be able to see the whole house. Okay, so I'm going to say front. I'm going to go to the front because I want to move this box down to there. So if we go back to a 3D view now, you can see my plywood, which is what I want to see. And then I'm going to go back to here and structure beam. I'm going to select the 2x12 and just put it over here. And we'll go back to that 3D view. And there's my 2x12. And I want to isolate the plywood subfloor. Let's see if we can grab that anywhere. Difficult. Oh, I'll have to hide this in the view. I just brought the. Let's see. So I'm trying to select that, and sometimes when it's hard to select that, I go to a section, and I can select it here quite easily. Now I'll go back to my 3D view using the tab, so it will still be selected. I'm going to hold the control key down on the keyboard because these are the two items that I want to be isolated, and hopefully everything else will disappear. So I'm going to the eyeglasses. I am going to say isolate category. It's the categories of the two things I'm hoping that I have selected. And almost, it also has some concrete floor in there. So that's the, what is that? Okay, so that's the garage. Let's see, we'll see. Select all instances visible in view. Okay. Oh boy, let's see, I have to do a little bit of cleanup here. All right, select all instances visible in view. And this time I'm going to hide it. Hide in view elements. Hide in view elements. And then I don't really have to worry about that. So I'm going to do this now. I'm going to the architecture structure beam. My beam is a 2x12. And instead of drawing, I'm going to try selecting, picking lines. So this would be a line. None of those elements are visible in 3D view. Okay. So generally what that tells me is that the Revit is putting these elements in at an elevation that's below my view range here of that scope box that I picked. So see, let's see, structure, beam, and the reference level. See if I can pick a reference level. First floor. Let's see if that'll work. Okay. Now, I'm still selecting a line. Let's see if it'll put it here now. No. So it's putting the beams in, but it's putting them in at the wrong spot. So let's go around. On a big house, not a lot here. I'm going to put them in here anyway, and then try to figure out where they went to. This is the bond or the rim joist that I'm trying to put in. All right, got a little bit more to go. So I put my beams in already and determined that a 2x12 span would be the best span, best structural dimensional lumber size for the span, the biggest span that I have. So we could reduce the, oops, let's see now. Did I get this one? I'll have to put it again. It might tell me I already put it in there. I don't know if I did or I didn't. I got one to go. That's this guy. Okay. And still telling me it's not visible. I'm assuming that if I increase the scope box, that I might be able to see it. But we can go into a section and see if they're there, if they are there. So yeah, sure enough, there's where they are. See that? So cancel that. If I hit the tab key, yeah, you can see my guys are here. Okay, so back to the 3D. If I make this box bigger, I should be able to see them. So VG, let's see, T for topography. See if it takes off. Well, I'll turn off the sight. Maybe that's what it is. Let's see if it's still there. So I told Revit I don't want to see the site, but that's still there. So VG, I'll go to T for topography, turn that off, and let's see if that puts it away. Yes, it does. All right. I don't need to see the basement walls. So let's see if I can select that wall. I don't need any of the walls. All right. Select all instances, visible in view, and that's it. I wanted more than that, but anyway, I'm going to hide that. Well, let's hide the category and see what happens. Very good. Okay, so sadly, these are the only dimensional numbers that I see. Let's get rid of this too then. Select all instances visible in view. Hide that element. And I stand corrected. Okay, so we got a lot of these here. So it looks like all of my bond is there, but it was put in at the wrong spot. And I missed this one over here. Okay, and I missed a couple over here. All right, so anyway, I have it in there. Let's go back to that section now. And what do I need to do? I need to raise this guy from here all the way up to where? To here. Okay. And here's the elevation, the distance, Control C, I've copied it. And let's go back to that 3D. If I spin it around just a little bit, I should be able to grab all of that. Yep, I think I got them all. So I'm going to change my Z coordinate, Control V. I just pasted that elevation into the properties of the 2x12. And I think we're in good shape now. Look at that. Got a couple more to do. I missed this one. So structure, beam. It's still a 2x12. Let's see if I do the Z offset now right away and pick this line. Let's see what happens. Yeah, maybe it puts it right where I want it. Okay. And there's a couple extra here that I didn't get either. So I'll put this one in. And this one. Oh no, look at that. All of those are referenced to the wrong side of that. So another mistake. So let's do that. We'll select all instances. Good thing about this, of course, is that you're seeing how to resolve some of these mistakes. So let's try that. Select all instances, visible in view. And then I'm going to change the, I'm going to change the offset. Let's see. I know, let's see. Start level offset. No, I don't want to change the level. Nor the rotation. Y offset. Let's say, well, let's make it 0 to begin with and see what happens. Okay. Yep. I made the Y offset value 0, and I want to make it 3/4 of an inch because it was minus 3/4 of an inch. I want these things to be to line up. I want the end of the plywood and that floor joist to line up. There we go. This one doesn't. I don't know why that is. And the rest of them do, or most of them do. Okay, so now I have my rim joist in there. And now let's go to the first floor structural, which is showing underlay here again. Let's look at the properties of this guy. Underlay, no underlay. So my first floor structural view range is too high. VR for view range. Using the first floor. So why don't we say -1? And we'll make that -1. We'll make that -1. Let's just see what happens. Okay. I want to see. Looks CG. Are my walls turned off? No, the walls are on. Okay, and yet I can't see the basement walls. VR for view range. I'm going up, but I'm cutting through at -1. Huh. There we go. So now I can see my beam, and I don't see my bond. I want to see the bond too. So let's change the VR to -8 inches. And there's my rim joist. Okay, so you can see my rim joist now, and you can see the steel beams that I put in, and everything else is really not necessary to see. What are this properties here? Generic models. So VG will turn off the generic models and get rid of those. And then what do we have here? Casework. Okay, VG. Type in the letter C to give me the casework. I don't need to see the casework. I think that looks much better. Don't need that either. Some washer and dryer over here. That is mechanical equipment. So VG, M for mechanical equipment. Just like layers in AutoCAD. And I thought I unchecked that. This is mechanical equipment, VG, M. I don't know. Medical equipment, maybe, I don't know. But anyway, there we go. Okay, so I have 3 places where I'm going to put my steel or my floor joist. Well, let's measure this. What's the distance here? 22 feet. So definitely 2 by 12. For now, I'll put them in at 16 inches on center. That might be a big span for that. Anyway, we'll do it and let the structural engineer change it. So I have a beam system, okay? The properties of that beam system are that it's going to be dimensional lumber 2 by 12, and my elevation from the level is -3/4 of an inch. Okay, I'm ready to put it in. I'm going to, not doing it automatically, I'm going to sketch it. And I'll just draw the lines where I want my floor joists to be. So I definitely want them, if I'm drawing this side first, right here, I want my floor joist to rest on this beam. And so, well, I want to make sure I select it. So it's going to hit this beam, and it's going to come across. I'm not going to worry about that being correct. And now I'm going to go back in and pick again, this is the lines of the inside face of the rim joist or the 2 by 12, because that's as far as the structural system is going to go. Still have to clean it up a little bit. Nope, it's not going to there. I made a mistake. It's going to here. So that's all got to be erased. Not a big deal. And over to here. A couple more, a little bit more cleanup. I should be in good shape. here. And there. Okay. Hit the modify to clear out any kind of command. Click on this, and I'm going to say isolate category. Again, just so I can see the magenta lines. And now this matters because this is showing the span to be side to side, and I want it to be front to back. So we'll fix that in a minute. I went too far. Unjoin is fine. And I went too far with that system. Unjoin again is fine. And here. So I have to delete or erase these guys, put a window around it and say delete from the keyboard. And now I do want to change the direction. So beam direction is right here. I'm just going to click on a line that's in the direction I want the beams to be. And I'm going to say, okay. So right here, there's a problem. So I will see what that is. Let's zoom in there. Everything looks good there. And it doesn't look good there. So that's got to be cleaned up. We might be all right, but it looks like this guy needs a little bit of help too. And does this guy. And so we'll just try this guy too. All right, I'm going to say okay again by hitting that green check mark. This time it looks like it's going to work. And I'm going to hit the reset temporary hide. And there it is. There's my system. I have already told Revit to turn off the labels because otherwise you'd be seeing a label for each one of these. Okay, I put my first structural system in. Let's do the second one now. Again, it's a beam system. Sketch it. And I'll pick some lines. I'm going to pick, this is the face of the inside face of the bond, which is as far as the structural system, the framing can go. Now this time I want my framing to come to this side of the beam. And then it'll change slightly from here because the beam's not there anymore. All right, so let's see if we can clean that up a little bit here and here. All the way across. Here, I'll just draw a line rather than try to pick it. I want it to go to right there. Trim extend, just still call fillet. But less and less. I'm calling it trim extend more and more. All right, let's see. We got one more. I think that's it. Look at the direction of the span. So I want to change that. I'm going to click up here in the ribbon and say, change the direction. Now my double lines are here. So they're front to back again. Click on this. And it worked this time. Now, it's still selected. And look at it, it's a little too far apart there. So I'm going to move that and see what happens if I move that over to there. Yep, now they're sistered. That might have messed this guy up a little bit. Yep. So I'm going to see if I can unpin him individually. No. Okay, so I've got an issue here and an issue here that I need to deal with. And that issue here should be that this span here might be a little bit more than 16 inches on center. All right, last one. And then I can go back and fix that. Structure, beam system, sketch it. This time we'll just draw the lines. Again, I want to go from the edge of the beam. I want it to sit on the entirety of that flange. So I push it out to there. That's possible. We change these small. Oops, just not thinking here. and put a line in there. So let's do that. Then we'll change these shorter spans to 2x10s. So this didn't line up here, so let's do that. Using the align tool, line that up like that. Notice that the first line I picked was this one. So that's the direction of the span. I think we're good here. Let's see what happens. Nope. Now let's look. I don't see. Something is not closed. Oh, look at that. Got an extra line here. I didn't see it. Okay, let's see what happens now. Worked. And they're not together. So, I mean, they are together. We can't have the same object occupying. See, I could, when I did click on this one, I was able to unpin it. I don't want to unpin it. I want to select the whole structural system. Let's see if we can do that. Yep. And I'll just move it again from here to here, because they aren't going to sit on top of each other. They'll sit next to each other. So we do have still an issue here and here and here and here, which I'll deal with at another time. Let's go back to the 3D. Let's take this plywood sheathing, we can get it, tab, 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 maybe I got it there. I sure did. I'll hide that. And there you go, you can see the framing now. 2x12s went in. And these are 2x12s also, but they have a different, they need to be changed because I painted them. I changed the color of them for the outside of the house, I guess, for the outside of the house. Anyway, there we go. I got my framing in. Looks good.